Hello everyone, this is Highlander and welcome to another MTGC custom Magic card review. Here we have a card by uh, user Dom underscore rocks, Dom rocks, and we have a card here called Graveyard Horde. Um, let's take a look at this guy. So we got 2 and a black for a 2/1 with Decayed. Okay. And you can pay 2 black and exile a creature card from your graveyard to create a token copy of Graveyard Horde. Okay. Um, First off the bat, the one thing that I really like is I actually really like that he is playing with Decayed as a mechanic, and especially putting it on non-tokens. I mean, obviously, this thing makes tokens, but I think you understand what I'm saying. I'm a big fan of like messing around with mechanics and finding kind of new and interesting ways to use them. So I really, really like the fact that he's doing this. Now, if I'm not mistaken, oh, okay, no, I'm sorry. It says it right there. This creature can't block. So obviously, zombie cards are pretty easy to flavor. So I mean, don't really have any issues with the flavor of this card. Cool art too. Excuse me, let me take a sip of my tea. Um, I think that this card is probably a little underpowered, especially for a mythic. That's my really main gripe about this. I mean, even the so the decay tokens in whatever that set was, um, Midnight Hunt. The decay tokens in Midnight Hunt were 2/2s for one. This is a 2/1. Can't block, right? And when it attacks, you sacrifice it at the end of combat. So this card is pretty bad at face value, right? So ignoring the double black, I wouldn't play this card for 1 mana without the ability. Um, I probably wouldn't even play it for free without the ability, to be honest, unless I was doing some kind of crazy combo shenanigans. So the question is, how good is the ability? Um, so it does create a token copy of the Graveyard Horde, which means that that token gets the ability, but you don't get a huge benefit from giving the other. I mean, you can activate this ability as many times as you want, so the fact that the token gets the ability doesn't really matter. So you essentially for every creature. Excuse me, take another sip of my tea. For every creature in your graveyard, you can create a token of Graveyard Horde. So, thinking of similar cards, I was recently doing some Dominaria draft, and there's a card, Fungal Plots, which lets you exile a card from your graveyard to create a Saproling token. Let me take a look at this guy here. Fungal Plots. Okay, so this is an uncommon. You pay a similar cost. This one's actually more difficult to pay. You get a 1/1 Saproling, which can which can block and it can attack without dying, which, if you ask me, is probably better than a 2/1 Decayed, but at face value anyway. And it has this additional ability where you can sacrifice Saprolings to gain 2 life and draw a card. This feels a little underpowered to me. Like, I really like the idea of this card a lot. This card could probably be an uncommon. Um, you know, one thing that might be kind of neat. Excuse me. One thing that might be kind of neat on a card like this is removing the mana cost and making this a tap ability. And what's kind of cool about that is, first of all, okay, well, hold on. Let's rethink this. So that makes the card actually play out a little differently, right? So what I was going to get at is, if it has a tap ability, then like it's free, and all of the extra graveyard hordes can then start tapping to exile creatures from the graveyard. But that plays a little differently, right? Because what you could do with this card, which I did not consider, is you could attack with it and use the ability in the same turn. So essentially, you could like attack, sacrifice, like the graveyard horde's going to die, right? But you just create another graveyard horde, and you can kind of keep attacking over and over again. Still not great on a 2/1, I have to say. Okay, so I really like this card a lot. I like the idea of this card. I just think the power level's a little bit low. That's my main issue with it. There's a lot of knobs you can turn on this card, right? You could make it cheaper. You know, excuse me. You could make it cheaper cost-wise. Excuse me. You could, make it a 2/2 buff the stats. You could reduce the cost of the ability. 'Cause remember, you also have to have creatures in your graveyard for this to work. So, I think there's a lot of knobs you could turn on this. I mean, rarity is another one. So yeah, that's my general thoughts on this one. So I think I would give this card. So I I'd like to give it a 4 out of 5 because I like the idea of the card a lot, and I like that you're playing around with the decayed mechanic. But I can't in good conscience give it a 4 out of 5 when it's underpowered like this. So I think that I will give this card a 3 out of 5. Yeah, I think that's probably about where this card sits. So, but I think if you make a couple edits to this card, it could become a really neat one. So yeah, that's my review of Graveyard Horde. Thank you for watching.